And during that discussion, I said I was not with them because I think leadership that has to do with the public should be selfless. But at this time around, I think it's a good move because the federal government is always found to be reneging on its promises. This has almost become the usual cycle and culture of our policy makers. In fact, I have come to a conclusion that whenever you will enter into any form of agreement with the Nigerian government, provided the agreement will be depart. What I mean by will be depart is something that you will sign now with the timeline that it will be implemented. Forget about this promise, they will never implement it. For example, during the subsidy removal, the Labour was generous to the government by not embarking on a nationwide protest or strike, but rather they sat down with the government and struck a deal about 8-point agreement, in which one of them is that the government now will give what is called wage award of 35,000 naira per month to all federal government workers. And in fact, the federal government even went ahead and indulged the state governments that they should also replicate the same thing in order to alleviate the hardship of workers. But as we are talking to you now, this was supposed to be from September. We are now in February. The federal government only paid twice. That of September was never paid until I think end in November. That means after 3 months they paid once. Then that of October was never paid until January. It means after every 3 months they pay for 1 month. Meaning that now the government, the workers are now owning the government 3 months of this wage award plus now this February, which is making it now the fourth month. So now the question that one should ask is, if the federal government will unilaterally and unanimously just went ahead to withdraw subsidy, making the fuel price to increase from 198 naira to almost 700 naira, and that government could not be kind and reasonable enough to give just
That's a bit of a network hitch there. Dr. Babayo Sole was just trying to walk us through some of the timelines associated with how we've gotten here so far, particularly as it has to do with the federal government and Labour. We'll make efforts to reconnect with him and get him back on. But in the meantime, Queen, I'm sure you listened to him as he was talking a while ago, we were talking with regards to the suspension, some people say, is the removal of petrol subsidy, which has become very controversial. We are seeing government after government not being able to lift it. The government of President Bola Tinubu eventually does it on the 29th of May 2023, and then we see the aftermath of it. It is one consequence after another. And then the government continues to assure and reassure Nigerians, saying, look, it may hurt today, but we are going to be fine and all right by tomorrow. I mean, that's in the manner of speaking. The government also makes clear that, look, the efforts we are making are only going to, I mean, there has to be a gestation period for them. In other words, it may not look so good today, all right, but what we're doing is we're trying to pay now so we can play later. But Nigerians are not buying any of that for apparent reasons. One of those reasons being that the average Nigerian, the everyday citizen, has suffered so much insecurity, lack of access to basic amenity. For those who are even able to start up some small sort of businesses, it's one form of challenge after another with regards to ease of doing business, including access to small, short-term loans and stuff like that, right? So those have complicated the challenges that we are dealing with today. Apparently, that's the point that Dr. Sule was making a while ago. We are going to get him back on as quickly as possible. But I know Queen wants to say something.
And then you begin to wonder, as regards, the suit filed by
Falana, right?
Human rights activist Femi Falana.
Do you think it was a waste of time?
The federal government. I don't know how feasible that would be, owing to the fact that.
But do you think it was a waste of time?
Subsidy has been removed.
Do you think it was a waste of time?
It's almost looking like it's a waste of time. Because how feasible is it? How is it possible that the prices of food items and petroleum products will be fixed under 7 days, owing to the fact that there's still removal of subsidy and all that, and then you expect, I mean, the cost of doing business is increasingly high.
Make sure two things.
People.
I'm sure we're trying to reestablish a stream with Dr. Sule. Dr. Babayo Sule, we can hear you just in case you're back on.
Yeah, I am back.
Please, by all means, go ahead with your narrative.
Yeah, I think this what the labor is now doing is timely, because many are thinking that the federal government is just using a psychological motive in order to defeat the labor and the workers by delaying the payment of this 35,000 naira minimum wage award. It will now have a very good ground during negotiation to bargain for a low amount in the payment of minimum wage, because they will now convince them that, look, we are unable to even pay the 35,000 naira wage award. If we pick an amount that is higher than that, maybe we just need to either retrench workers, or we will be unable to pay, and at the end of the day, we will all be cycling within one dilemma. So therefore, the best thing is just take the little. That's what the federal government is trying to do. But unfortunately, this time around, the labor should not succumb. The policy makers should be reasonable enough to know that the current situation is only workers that are at the detriment or at the receiving end. The businessmen are always moving with the time. You increase, they increase the price. When the price falls down or decrease, they will not decrease it. It will always continue to go high. The artisans will charge more. Anyone that has a daily business will charge more. It's only workers that are vulnerable when it comes to such cycles of economic volatility or fluctuations. So therefore, I think it's timely. Labor need to do that. Labor need to do this negotiation. In fact, to me, if they will listen and adhere to my advice, they should not succumb to anything except if the government move ahead, at least let them settle upfront all the wage award before that 2 weeks. Otherwise, anything less than that, just the labor should shut down the country. Let the policy makers know that we are not here to die for them for their ostentatious and luxury lavish living style, while we will continue to wallow in abject penury in our own country. It is just practically impossible.
Okay, Dr. Sule, but you know, this is as complicated as it sounds. Just 2 days ago, a court has ordered the federal government to, within a space of 7 days, fix the prices of food items as well as petroleum products. How much does that change Nigeria's situation for the better?
It will not change anything, because I don't think if the court that even delivered this verdict, I don't know what yardstick they use in order to arrive at this their judgment, but the government has no power, no matter what it will apply, to just fix the price of either petroleum products now in the current situation of the subsidy removal. If it was before, then since the government was in the full control of the price, it can do that, but not now. That is one. Secondly, how can you ask government to fix the price of food items when the government is not the supplier of the food items? When the value chain supply, when the forces of demand and supply are now allowed to determine how the market is running, are now determined to allow the direction of the market prices, how can you ask government to do that? How can in a week will the government now acquire these food items and crash the price in the market? If the government can do that, it cannot do it within 1 week. And even if it is within next 1 year, government cannot do that. So this is simply just a flamboyant and just a fascinating judgment delivered in order just to make some Nigerians feel soothed, to just feel relieved, to just jubilate. But there is not, even the court that delivered this judgment is aware that this is practically impossible. You cannot ask government to do that. I think whatever it is now must be done gradually. The damage has been done. I have been saying this. The issue of the economic situation in Nigeria is not about Tinubu's government, it's not about Tinubu's economic policies, it's not about Buhari's government or Buhari's economic policies. It's about a long-term, many decades of economic sabotage that we inflicted upon ourselves from 1970s. The step that we missed in order to diversify our economy in order to develop our indigenous economy in terms of agriculture, in terms of small-scale farming, in terms of small-scale industrializations, in terms of livestock production, and other things. We should have done that during the oil windfall in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, but the military regimes during that period embarked on squandering the resources, corruption, embezzlement, and other irrelevant policies which tantamount to the current economic crisis that we are in. So let Nigerians not deceive themselves. It is not a matter that will be resolved within 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, or even 1 year. But what the government needs to do is there are palliatives that should cushion the effect. That is what the government is not doing in its own part. For example, payment of the wage award. And what about outstanding liabilities that the government is owing workers? If you take federal government workers, this is my own assumption. I don't have any figure about that. I believe about 90% are owning government money in one form or the other. Promotion arrears, salary arrears, whatever arrears. Let the government settle all this. At least people will know that there is a goodwill. Because once you settle these workers, they will go to market. There will be what we call a trickle-down effect in economics, because what they will spend will go to the hands of businessmen and other people like this. And that is annoying to tell you that the government just decided to withdraw every subsidy and allow everyone in the country to pay his own pet, which is unfortunate. So therefore, we need to recast, we need to reflect, we need to sit down and rethink of exactly what we need to do about this situation. It is really, really critical and daunting. We have never faced that in the history of this country.
As of today, Dr. Sole, you and I know that the government, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, has suspended all social investments programs. Some persons are now saying, considering the challenges the country is grappling with, we should, as quickly as possible, not only reintroduce those programs, but find a way to evolve new ones to complement them. What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, exactly. You are right. That is a great mistake from the part of the government. If there is a corruption scandal, if there are allegations from the managers of these policies and programs, the program itself should not be suspended, because policies, programs are meant for continuity. Rather, those that are found wanting should be suspended. But the programs, you should find other trustworthy, capable hands that will continue from where it stopped. That's what the government should have done. It should have immediately find another ones, even if they will be acting, who will continue to manage the situation. But then, by just suspending it, you are suspending the entire vulnerables that stand to benefit from the programs. And it sounds somehow crazy to me, because as you rightly observe, we should have been thinking of introducing additional ones instead of suspending the existing ones. And that is another issue that also compounded and complicated the economic situation in the country, because by now the transfer should have been positively benefiting not only the beneficiaries, but rather the entire economic space of the country. That is the transfer that will be given now to the beneficiaries of the investment. I know that, for example, take just one of it. That is the issue of food vendor, which is homegrown school feeding. You know, it has a value chain effect in such a way that some will go and supply the food items from the farm producers. Some will now go and buy these food items from the middlemen, from the marketers. Some will go and cook. Some will now be hired in order to engage in the process of cooking. Some will be hired in the process of distribution, transportation, and other things. All these are now suspended because of the sins of very few who are now being accused of corruption scandal. I think the government should also need to look into this issue and quickly reintroduce the programs, and also think of more ones that should be introduced. The government should know that we are at the back of a very critical situation that we should avoid. I have been always urging the security personnel, especially the secret intelligence, that they should be giving the government the genuine and the sincere situation of the people in order to avoid the outbreak of a curse that we cannot control, because people are really, really hungry in this country. People are becoming hopeless, and you have to be afraid of the spontaneity of a hungry man, because he stands nothing to lose but everything to gain in any kind of situation if you push him to the wall.
The President has declared state of emergency on food security. As part of that, there's some sort of directive now, all right, for food grains, for grains to be released from food reserves and so on and so forth. Is this a strategic move?
Well, it's a good one, at least because this is one of the ways that the government in anywhere in the world always respond to such kind of economic crisis, or rather such kind of food insecurity crisis. But the question that we should ask ourselves is, we should always be reflecting in our environment. Now, I think this is the second or third time that President Tinubu is declaring food emergency. I think not only him, but also the state governors, because I know that even here in the Northeast, in their last summit, the governors in the northeastern state of Nigeria also declared food emergency in the food security sector. But unfortunately, the question that we should ask ourselves is, what will happen to whatever policy or what will be released? Which channel will it go? If provided it will go to the same channel that it used to go, it means that it will end up in the same way that it used to end. For example, if you give to governors, people are always blaming them that they don't distribute. Sometimes they just keep it in the warehouse until even some of it got spoiled or damaged before they now distribute. Sometimes you will even see it in the market. If you want today, for example, that palliative food, if you give me money, I will go to Gombe market, I will buy it and bring it for you. You will see it. You will see the rice has now turned into brown because of a long period of just keeping it in the warehouse. And how did it find its way into the market? Of course, it's because it is kept somewhere until some corrupt officials decided to divert it. So the problem is how it will reach those that are meant for it. That is the major problem with the country. And to this, I will advise that it should not go through the state governors. It should not go through the federal government workers. Instead, the federal government should initiate a process of reaching out to the community leaders, like religious leaders, the traditional rulers, put them together at a committee, ward by ward, local government by local government, state by state, so that it will go through them directly, and then they will supervise the distribution together with some, maybe, let me say, I don't want to be selfish, but some maybe academics, because at least there is some level of transfer, some level. I mean, I'm not saying that we are pure. All Nigerians are in one way or the other corrupt in their own way, but at least involve, and the media too, involve you in the process of distribution from the beginning to the end. But in as much as we continue with the traditional process of this intervention, it will tantamount to nothing. It will be inconsequential. We will not see any changes. This hardship and this crisis of food insecurity is coming after President Tinubu just declared food emergency some months ago, and also released some food items and even billions of naira to all the state governors. Why is it that the crisis escalated? Because it has not reached where it is supposed to reach. So that is the issue.